Well, hi guys, it's One Love Ted, and it's time for Ted's afternoon story. I am reading from the Pushcart War by Gene Merrill, and we are on chapter 21, The Barricade at Posey's Plant. When the P-TAC squad arrived at Posey's plant on the second morning of the P-blockade, they found the doors barricaded with 100-pound sacks of dried peas. "Open up!" ordered the chief of the P-TAC squad, when 6 squadmen could not budge the door. "Mayor's orders," he explained when he saw Mr. Posey glaring down at him from a second-story window of the plant. "I'm closed today," Mr. Posey called down, "for business reasons. Tell the mayor." "Well, open up, because I have to close you up," said the chief. "I'm very busy right now," said Mr. Posey. The P-TAC squad finally had to call the fire department. Fire engines came roaring down the street, bringing with them a large crowd. 2 firemen took an axe to Posey's door. When Mr. Posey saw the firemen chopping through his door, he and his wife began bombarding the firemen and the P-TAC squad from the second floor with 10-pound sacks of dried peas. 1 fireman and 2 squadmen were knocked unconscious, and another squadman slipped on the dried peas that were rolling all over the sidewalk and broke his wrist. When the firemen finally broke through the door and began hacking their way through the 100-pound sacks of peas Mr. Posey had stacked against it, a torrent of peas poured into the street. Hundreds of children had gathered by now and began excitedly stuffing their pockets with peas. By the time the squadmen had fought their way through the barricade, they were pretty mad. They seized Mr. Posey and his wife and tied them up. They had to, as the Poseys kept throwing sacks of peas at them. The chief of the P-TAC squad then demanded to know why Mr. Posey had barricaded his door. Mr. Posey, who was close to tears by now, told the truth. He said that he had closed up his place of business because he did not want the P-TAC squad closing it up. Naturally, this was too simple of an explanation to satisfy the chief of the P-TAC squad. "You manufacturing something illegal in here, maybe?" he asked Mr. Posey. "Counterfeit money? Dynamite?" "Dynamite," said Mr. Posey scornfully. "If I had dynamite, would I be wasting perfectly good sacks of peas, throwing them from a second-story window? This is a 100% legal pea packaging plant," said Mr. Posey, "and all I have in this place is peas and 5, 10, 25, and 100-pound sacks for packaging them. If you untie me, I will show you what kind of business I run." "We'll see for ourselves," said the chief of the P-TAC squad, and he ordered 2 of his men to search Mr. Posey's plant. The squadmen searched the plant from top to bottom, and they did not find anything but peas in 5, 10, 25, and 100-pound sacks. One of the men suggested to the chief that the sacks of peas might be a hiding place for something else, such as smuggled diamonds. "Diamonds?" said Mrs. Posey. "You think we are throwing diamonds out a second-story window? It's bad enough we should waste so many peas." The chief, however, took out a jackknife and ripped open a dozen 100-pound sacks of peas. Dried peas cascaded all over the room, and the P-TAC squad found itself up to its ankles in peas. The chief ordered the squad to sift through the peas to make sure that there were no packets of diamonds or pearls or gold nuggets or maybe uranium concealed among the peas. The squad man who had suggested the diamonds wished he had kept still. When his men found nothing, the chief only grew more suspicious. He asked to have Mr. Posey's business records brought to him. It was only after the chief had leafed carefully through Mr. Posey's books, which dated back 31 years, that the chief began to feel a little ashamed. The books showed clearly that the only product Mr. Posey had sold during his long business career was dried peas. Most of the orders the chief saw were for 10 and 25-pound sacks. He realized then that Mr. Posey had to work very hard at his small business to make a living, and that he had made a wreck of Mr. Posey's place of business for nothing. The chief was about to close the order books and to apologize to Mr. Posey for causing him so much trouble when his eye fell on Wenda Gambling's order for 1 ton of peas. The chief only noticed the entry because it was such a large number of peas as compared with Mr. Posey's usual orders. "Not Wenda Gambling, the movie star," said Chief. "Why not?" said Mrs. Posey. "Posey's peas are a quality product." "But what does a movie star want with a ton of peas?" asked the chief. "How do I know?" said Mr. Posey. "Should I ask the customer's private business? Maybe she's planting a pea farm for a hobby, or maybe she is starting a pea soup plant, or a pea shooter plant," laughed the chief. "Why not?" said Mr. Posey. "Why not?" agreed the chief. "Well, Mr. Posey, I think we have bothered you long enough." He untied Mr. Posey and his wife and explained to Mr. Posey that even if he was running a 100% legal pea packaging business, he would have to close his plant until the pea blockade was over. "What difference does it make now?" said Mr. Posey. "I cannot clean up the mess you have made of my plant in less than a month." "Why not?" shouted the chief suddenly. "Why not? Why not?" "Because it is a mess. That's why," called Mr. Posey. "No, no, no, no," said the chief. "Never mind the mess. I mean, why not a pea shooter plant for Wenda Gambling?" "What does Wenda Gambling want with a pea shooter plant?" asked Mr. Posey. "Why not?" the chief said again. "I mean, who knows? Do you have the bill for Miss Wenda Gambling's 1 ton of peas?" "I have a carbon copy," said Mr. Posey. "Let me see it," ordered the chief. The bill was made out to Miss Wenda Gambling at the Plaza Hotel. However, the chief noticed that the 1 ton of peas had not been delivered to Wanda Gambling's apartment at the Plaza Hotel, but to Maxie Hammerman's shop. The chief pointed out to Maxie's address. "Aha!" he said. "Aha! What?" said Mr. Posey. He saw nothing odd about the order. He delivered peas to whatever address his customers requested. "Maxie Hammerman, that's what," said the chief. "So," said Mr. Posey, "maybe they were a birthday present. Who is Maxie Hammerman?" It happened that the chief of the P-Tax squad was one of the few people in New York City outside of the pushcart peddlers and Maxie's personal friends who knew who Maxie was. "Maxie Hammerman," said the chief thoughtfully, "is the pushcart king." And that is chapter 21 for this afternoon's story. Tomorrow, chapter 22, the raid on Maxie Hammerman. And maybe I'll read that this afternoon, because I missed one yesterday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to sign up at One Love Ted Koch on YouTube. Thanks, guys.